Okay, this is a speed run of the first part of Abiotic Factor, specifically with the goal of obtaining a level 3 keycard and a grinder with ammo. This is played on normal difficulty with default server settings. The restrictions are no glitches and no deaths.
I don't think we've met.
So in the initial part of the run, I'm just going through the required section where you go through the vents to get around to the front of the cafeteria. We have to loot pretty much all of the items along the way here in order to have enough materials for later. I've got a net as my primary weapon, which is what I'll be using for most of the run. I'll just skip that carbuncle, run past this pest. This toolbox always contains 1 screwdriver and 2 duct tape. It cannot contain a hammer. We need a hammer for this run, so we'll have to be looking in some other toolboxes to get it. Here we want to pick up 3, or loot anyway, 3 of these pipe things. We only need 1 pressure gauge, but we need all of the pipes themselves. So now we'll make a few more nets and 1 bandage just in case we get a bleeding injury along the way. And then set up things on the hotbar. I've got 10 slots because I took the fanny pack perk and I also took the dry skin debuff to compensate. So we'll kill this pest to get bioscrap. That's the only animal remains that we'll obtain at any point during this run. Right there I was just checking to make sure I had already picked up tech scrap because it's not always available at the beginning. Here we want to get a couple desk legs and then take apart these computers. That'll give us all of the materials that we need to make a bench. The bench is what we need to build, well, everything pretty much. But right now what we need is an energy brick in order to open the door that Dr. Jaeger is currently behind.
Someone needs to sort this out.
And once we're done making this brick, we can just pack up the bench because we won't be coming back here.
You need to open the door.
And for much of the run, this will be how we'll be handling enemies, using a net to stun lock them, and a melee weapon to do damage. So, now that we've killed the dog, the next thing is to check this toolbox. We're hoping to find a hammer. We do not find one, but we do find glue, which we also need, so that's at least something. They'll save us breaking 1 box. Make a few more nets. In the gym here, this enemy takes a moment to load in, and then we need to loot the bicycle thing in order to get 2 metal scrap. Once we have 4, then we have enough for what's coming up. We'll equip this backpack. I already have the oil, so I don't need the oil that's in the gym. Then we'll set up our bench in order to make a pipe club. And this will be where we'll do crafting for pretty much the entire office section. So the pipe club needs glue and pressure gauge. That's the only things we need those for, at least for now, so that clears up a couple inventory spots, which is nice. And so now we're going to grab this cooking pot. It's not always here, but when it is, this is a convenient place to grab it. So next we'll loot 1 computer and monitor, and that gives us the materials that we need to make an energy brick and then a chopinator. And the chopinator will be what we use to kill all of the robots during the run. And that uses our oil. That's the only thing we need oil for. And you could also see that's also why we needed the 4 metal scrap. It's just for the chopinator. So now we're going to level 3, but we're not going the normal path. Instead, we're doing a slight sequence break, although this is not a glitch. If we go through this office and then jump up onto these dividers, we can get up into the ceiling. And then once we get up here, we can go into the ventilation area. And then following this tunnel takes us to level 3. I think this is a little bit faster than going through Far Garden, which is the normal path. But more importantly, it takes us past the toolbox that we're about to see, which gives us an additional chance to get a hammer. And in fact, we find one. Each toolbox, I think, has a little bit less than a 50% chance. I'm not sure exactly what the odds are to get a hammer, but we absolutely need one. So it's good that we found one within the first 3. Otherwise, we have to do backup strats, which get slow. Now in this supply closet, we have to find 2 screws. There's no alternative. If we didn't find 2 screws, then what we'd have to do is go back to level 2 and then back to level 3 in order to re-roll the loot in that room. But fortunately, picked up 2 screws there, so we're good. Now we'd like to kill a bot here, but this dog is aggroed, and from my experience, we have to deal with it. If I go build the Chopinator is just not good at killing the dog because it's too short. And so then we'd have to deal with the bot and the dog, which is not easy. So, we're going to set up the Chopinator in order to kill this bot. In addition, though, if we had not found a cooking pot in the kitchen on level 2, there's the kitchen on level 3 just to our left, and we would get the pot from there. But we already have the pot, so we'll just kill the robot using the Chopinator. And the technique here is fairly simple, just standing on the opposite side, but ideally you want to set things up so that if the robot does his charging punch attack, he won't go past the Chopinator, so it'll kind of stay in place. But you can see there I messed it up, because he did go past. But now he seems to be in a relatively safe location, so I can go into my inventory if necessary. Okay, so the bot is dead. We pick up the Chopinator, we pick up the CPU, and basically every time we kill a bot in this run, we're going to loot everything that's not a liquid. I don't necessarily need all of the things that I'm picking up each time, though of course the CPU is the main thing, but just for simplicity, I've designed the run around uniformly picking up all the solid drops. But we don't need the oil and we don't need the soda. So now we're back to the kitchen, and so we now begin the big looting phase here. This is kind of the only long looting section. What we have to do is loot 16 computers from this part of the map. And I've put the circuit board that I already have onto my hotbar in slot number 6 so that I can keep track of the looting progress. And so basically I'm just going to be looting computers and monitors until I have 17 circuit boards. That's our immediate goal here. Now seeing this, you might wonder, wouldn't it be better to get the vacuum? Because the vacuum lets you vacuum up items and therefore loot faster. And I've done a few attempts with the vacuum to try to see how I make that work. The first problem, but ultimately decided not to use it. So the first problem with the vacuum is that it's initially not charged. And even once you get it charged, it's still... one charge won't last the entire looting session. It runs out a little bit more than halfway through. So you need to figure out how to charge the vacuum. And that can actually be solved. If you make the vacuum before killing the bot on level 3, then you can charge it while you're killing the level 3 bot. And then a little bit later we'll be killing the robot on level 1. And so we can rearrange the collection strategy to charge the vacuum on level 1 while killing the bot on level 1. It's important when you're doing that to always charge it on the same level that you're currently on, because when you move between levels, the charger gets unloaded and it makes no progress charging something. But even with that, even once we've got the charging problem of the vacuum solved, the other big problem with it is it's just very unpredictable. You end up looting a lot of things that you don't want, and some things that you do want, because your inventory gets full, get flung around the room and end up in random locations. So, at least in my experience, I've been unable to make the vacuum cleaner work here and be faster. Because even though this is kind of a pain, this is very simple and predictable, repeatable looting. I just go, one to the next, and I don't have to worry about extra junk or charging or stuff like that. So that's why I've chosen not to use the vacuum, though I could imagine someone else might be able to make use of it and do a better job. So, having picked up now 17 circuit boards, I know I have enough stuff, but I have too much. So what I'm doing as I play is I have Live Split running on another monitor, which contains information about what items I need here. So I've got 2 coils, 1 tech scrap, 5 keyboards, 2 phones, 4 plastic, 1 power supply, 9 fans, 10 glass, and 17 circuit boards. And so once I have all of those, then that finishes the looting split, and that's what I have in my inventory now. So our next objective, having completed the looting section, is to kill the level 2 bot. So we set up the Choppinator and go aggro the bot. One very minor thing I do here is package up that potted plant because it can sometimes obstruct his path. It'll take a little bit longer to get over here. And now I'm trying to guide him in so that he'll get stuck in the right spot, because while killing this robot, I want to also be buying slushies. The slushy bomb is my primary way of killing the Exor monks, who otherwise annoyingly teleport around and can be somewhat dangerous as well. I got a little bit lucky in that I didn't get any failures to buy slushies, but this takes long enough that normally even with 1 or 2 failures I can get all 3 slushies that I need. So we've killed the bot, I've picked up the slushies, that's what I need to make the bombs. So now we're going to make 3 bombs. Alright, and so with that, our next objective is to go to level 1 and kill the bot on that level, because we need a total of 3 CPUs in order to make the level 1 keycard. And the charging station is just to the right here, so if I was doing the route that involved the vacuum, I would have to stop and put the vacuum on the charger there. We don't have the vacuum here. And once this robot wakes up, I'm going to package 1 chair in hopes of just getting a little bit more cloth. Oh, I guess I didn't do that. So, having set up the Choppinator, try to make sure the robot doesn't get stuck on the vending machine. We basically just kill him the same way as before, and he's nicely stuck behind it, so we can do a little bit of inventory crafting stuff. Okay, bot dead, and we pick up the Choppinator and go. It's important throughout this run to wait until the Choppinator chops up the robot before you pick it up, because I did not pick up the kitchen knife and I don't actually have inventory space for it. There's a point in the run where I'll be maxed out on inventory. So I have no way of chopping up a destroyed robot other than the Choppinator itself, and if you pick up the Choppinator too soon, you can't put it back down in that location. So it's very important that you wait on picking up the Choppinator until it does its job. So we now dropped all but 5 metal scrap, because I won't need more than that going forward. We then make 3 computation bricks, which is, again, what's needed to make the level 1 keycard. And then we now have just to make the other prerequisite pieces, a test tube, that's the only thing we need wood for during the entire run, a glow stick, and then these 3 precursor pieces that have sort of random seeming ingredients. but I've mostly memorized at this point. And with that, we can make the level 1 keycard, which finishes that split. So, our next objective is to use the keycard to get into Flat Hill. And our goal in Flat Hill is to get 2 power cores. Now, we only need 1 power core to get into manufacturing, but I'm going to get 2 in order to operate the forklift in manufacturing. Now, before doing that, we have to actually kill the monk who's behind this door. This is why we have the slushy bombs. Basic strategy is to freeze him, hit him 4 times, freeze him again, making sure to step far enough back to not get caught in the blast, because if you get caught in the blast, then you get frozen along with him, which is bad. Having done that successfully, we can move forward. Now here there's a pest to the left, and I'm kind of moving in such a way that he hopefully won't jump a second time. It's not a big deal, I just don't want him on me right now. This iodine tablets is the only radiation protection we'll use during the run. I'm not going to use the radiation suit, because with the iodine tablets you don't need it.
If you will not stop yourself, we will.
Now, like I say, I'm getting 2 power cores, and the second one is for the forklift in manufacturing. Now, there is a power core above the blacksmith that you could grab instead. However, once you've gone into Flat Hill far enough to get 1 power core, going backwards from that point, which I was doing in earlier attempts, is still kind of slow. There's a somewhat long path to run here just to get to that power core, and you mostly have to just go backwards the same way, although there's a shortcut door that I just passed that you could use while going backwards. But the point is, going backwards from that first power core is itself kind of slow. So what I've ended up doing here is just going forward, which takes a bit longer, but not that much longer, and it saves me from having to get the power core above the blacksmith so that I can use the forklift. And the importance of the forklift will become apparent later. So, this is our first power core. Like I say, I could go backwards at this point to just get the 1, but the forward path is what I'm doing instead. It just goes through the arcade. And then coming up, there's a supply closet that I could go in to potentially get screws, but I've gotten bad luck going in there, and I can get screws elsewhere, so I skip it. Here's our second power core. And then we can pretty quickly get out of the library. And like I say, this is in comparison to going backwards and getting the power core above the blacksmith. And so I think combined, this is faster than doing that. And so that was a pretty smooth run through Flat Hill. And now we're out. So, with our 2 power cores, we're now going to go back to level 2, pick up the bench, and from there head to manufacturing. Because I want to hold the bench on my hotbar, since things on your hotbar weigh less, I first move the cloth out of the way so that when I loot the bench, it will go into slot 6. I decided to wash myself in that pool just because of the OCD regarding the game telling me I'm messy. So, now we're going to manufacturing, which we can get to by going over this little ramp. And as soon as we get into that section, there will be one more bot that we need to kill. This bot's CPU is used for the tram key, I think. I think that's right. So we want to sprint for our full duration to get to the robot. A general movement optimization principle is that you want to fully exhaust your stamina once you arrive at your destination. Because you can't sprint if it's below that little line in the bar. So we make sure that the robot aggroes properly, then go ahead and put the power core and the forklift next to Grayson. Turn on the Chopinator, and then we're good to go. And so now we can let our stamina fully regenerate. And since this is a nice long path, it's very easy to make sure that the bot is properly lined up with the Chopinator. And the bot, this type of bot anyway, the normal security bot, will never kill a Chopinator before the Chopinator kills it, as long as they're both starting at full health. So you can repair it during the battle, but it's not necessary. Okay, so having killed that bot, we now need to go into manufacturing, but to get there we have to first talk to Varsha, who's hanging out at the synchrotron. And so we're just kind of running past all this stuff. And so again, stamina management wise, what I'm trying to do is I want my stamina to cross that little divider line kind of at the bottom of this ramp, because then that should cause my stamina to become perfectly exhausted just as I get to Varsha.
Stay quiet. They'll hear you.
Yeah, so that was pretty good.
At first, I thought it was an accident.
So she's got dialogue that goes for a while,
Everywhere.
unskippable.
Then these terrorists came.
So while she's talking, I just do some simple maintenance things, loot the med kit. I can drop all but 2 of my tech scraps because I don't need the others. That just saves a little bit of weight.
So he should be safe, I think.
Yeah. Just for the heck of it, I can also sit down just to recover a little bit of
anything that moves. Be careful.
tiredness, whatever that is. So at this point, we're going into manufacturing, and the first thing we'll be getting to once we get to something lootable is 3 crates. The crates contain rebar, screws, hose, and a few other things, but it's the rebar, the hose, and the screws that we need. We don't need anything else, though maybe cloth is useful. So of course we ignore the radio. And so it's behind this door that we've got these ones in. So it's important that we get at least 2 screws here. If we don't get 2 screws, then there's a problem with the route. But fortunately we do get 2 screws. And that's pretty much all that we need. May as well pick up the duct tape. Then we need to break this radio to get military electronics. Military electronics are among the critical resources here, and it's a bit of RNG because the enemies don't always drop them. So we get that the one from the radio is guaranteed, but the one from this guy is not. And so like before, we're just going to stun locking him with the net and hitting him with a stick. And this one takes a long time to die sometimes. So he did drop Millilek, which is fortunate. I'm also going to buy coffee for later use, but I'm not going to pick it up yet. So then we come through here. We're going to go into this little alcove and get the wrench. Unfortunately, the dog aggroed behind me, so I've got to take care of him. And so now the next goal is to build a portable stove. But the grunt behind me aggroed, and this rat is in a weird spot, so not really knowing what to do, I just started opening this because I need to. The rat ran away, and the grunt just stood there for some reason. Don't know what his deal was, but this does slightly screw up the order that I normally do things in, but I did need to kill them both anyway. So, sort of returning to the original plan, we're now going to put down our bench. This will be our crafting location for manufacturing. And the first thing we need to make is a portable stove, which will later be used to make the solder. Okay, so we put that down. Now we're going to make a makeshift battery, which will be important to allow things to work at night and also allow us to operate two different appliances at once. So we make sure to get that charged. So now is when I would normally open the door to the blacksmith, but I've already done that because those guys aggroed. I would then kill the grunt, but he's again already dead. So next we're going to put the core into the forklift, which will be used later. And now we're going to fill our cooking pot, which we picked up before, with water. We can also drink some water. And we want to put the cooking pot onto the stove. We also need to open this door because that's how the forklift gets out. So that'll be used later for solder. Now we finally talk to the blacksmith. Actually, I don't know if talking to him is necessary. It's just part of my route.
Where'd you come from? Look, we don't got
What is necessary is getting that recipe for uncooked solder. And as you can see, it just raises your cooking level to 3 automatically. So there's no need to do any other cooking in order to make soup. So now what we need to do is loot 4 military electronics, 2 steel cable, 1 power core, and 2 phones. So we got to kill this guy and hope he drops Mililek. He did, but then he fell awkwardly. And then this dude, like, he got himself in this really weird position. Normally he takes 8 shots to kill, but he just would not die. Like, I don't know, is this like 12, 16, 18? I don't know how many shots this is. This is like, it's ridiculous how long this guy is taking to die. He's supposed to die in 8. So that was kind of a mess. In any case, we get lucky here because the first soldier dropped his backpack, and his backpack is better than the radio pack. The captain here always drops his radio pack, but the military one has better weight reduction. So good backpack drop, that'll help us later. We pick up the power core, reinforced steel cable, plus a phone, and then we get a second phone. Get a little bit more cloth and take some iodine. And so that completes the looting that we needed to do in that little section. We now have enough stuff to make the level 2 keycard. So to do that, we need to come back to the bench. We need to make 2 reinforced hose. I'm taking the keycard out of my inventory so that it'll be available as an ingredient. So we need 2 reinforced hose. This is why we needed to pick up 2 screws when we first came into this section. And now we can get the level 2 keycard. Okay. So then we disconnect the battery to make sure it doesn't lose its charge later. And now we're going to get into the forklift and go to the construction site. And so the reason I got the forklift is not yet apparent, but there's some long running sections and you run out of stamina. And so the forklift, although it definitely cost us some time to get, is going to save us time when we have to do these long running sections and would otherwise just be forced to slow walk the whole way. Okay, so we've got the forklift. We've opened the door to this construction site. First thing we need to do is sleep. This is the only time we're going to be sleeping during the run, but it's a convenient time to do it. This sleep minigame is pretty straightforward, but toward the end you want to make sure you jump as early as possible, otherwise I actually didn't do it quite right. I got hit. So we have currently 2 military electronics. That's what's in hotbar number 7. We just picked up a 3rd, and this will be the 4th. So this is very good RNG for the military electronics. It's often, well, I would have gotten a backup one if I didn't have 4, but the 4 is what we need for the tram key. So now we're going to loot this construction site, and the main thing we're after here is the steel cable. In particular, we need to come up with 5 steel cables. So I got one off of that was just sitting on its own. We got another from the crate we broke a moment ago, and then that crate makes the 3rd. There's another crate in here, which will be our 4th steel cable. And then I'm just checking my inventory, and I saw that we have 4. So then the 5th one will come from the crate that's in the back of this truck. And along the way I picked up wood just because it came out of those crates, but I don't need any wood, so we dropped that. So now we're done looting the steel cable. As you can see, we're already out of stamina just from that looting. And so what we need to do here is go up to talk to Frake. Frake will tell us to talk to the blacksmith. Now we have to run from Frake all the way back to the blacksmith. And of course, this is a big hit on stamina, which is part of why it's useful to have the forklift, although it'll be even more useful later.
But remember what happened in 85 when the kinetics team overloaded the Secretron? They triggered.
And so here I'm doing stamina management again. I basically want to be crossing that divider line as I go through this door, which I didn't do quite right. The goal being to exhaust my stamina just as I reach this keypad.
All my people need to do is follow the pipes. Red, yellow, green. They'll find their
And
way
while
to the
that's being
tunnel.
hacked, I can craft a couple more nets.
Been hours since they left, but they'll be back. I'm sure of it.
And so coming through here, what I want to do is cross the divider line on stamina on this last light. Yeah, so right there, that's basically perfect. That should give me just enough stamina to reach the forklift, which I then have to back down here, but backing down like this is still faster than dealing with the stamina
Where'd you come from?
being exhausted. So then we got to quickly get over and talk to the blacksmith as fast as
Frank
possible,
wants to blow a hole
because he has to talk for a while, and he won't give me the tram key recipe until he's done talking.
What choice we got?
So this is one of 2 places in the run where I can do a couple things, but then I have no choice but to wait.
Price is doing business.
So there's nothing I can do right now besides just wait for him to stop talking and tell me the tram key recipe.
One more thing. You're gonna have to unlock the tram station too. One of Frake's people said there's a gateway in there. If that portal leads where I think it does, some of what's on that list is on the other side. I'll give you specs for a tram key. Should open the station right up.
So finally he's done talking, gives us the recipe.
Resetting in 3, 2, 1.
So, with the tram key obtained, we unplug the battery to make sure that we'll be able to use it later. And here, the forklift, again, comes in very handy because this is a long run to go from the blacksmith over to the tram station, which would very quickly exhaust stamina if we try to sprint it the whole way. Turn the forklift around for later use and open up the tram station. Then right now we have 0 military electronics. We eventually need 2. There's 1 radio right here which we grab, and there will be another radio a little bit later. So even though we'll kill a couple more soldiers, we won't actually need what they drop. So there's a couple soldiers here that we need to run past. Usually they don't cause much problem. They didn't there. In the train, we're after exactly 2 things. We need 1 axle grease, that's right there, and we need 1 silver scrap, which is a bit further on. And this guy I normally kill in part because if you don't, he can just physically block the way. He didn't drop Millilek, but we don't need it. This guy, normally you can just hit him once and he'll fall off. He'll occasionally be uncooperative, but most of the time he just gets out of the way. And this guy on the right, in the side of that doorway, he'll occasionally aggro and come out and block the hallway, which really sucks, but here he didn't do that. So, now we've gotten what we need from the train, just the grease and the silver, and then we get out of here, making sure to manage stamina so we can do the jump and continue sprinting. Now that we're out of the train, we just hold W as we go through the transition, which drops us off the ledge perfectly onto the ladder. And so now what we're trying to do is get back to the cooking pot in order to start the solder. Because the solder is a 6-minute timer, and there's no way to accelerate that. I mean, not without glitches. So, we're just really on the clock here to get that solder started, at which point we'll kind of have a somewhat leisurely section where we're just waiting for the solder. But again, the forklift comes in huge because it gets us from the tram station all the way here without stamina issues. Now here, I ran into a problem I actually never run into before, which is I get here and it's still nighttime. So this is the fastest I've ever gotten to this point in the run. And I had to wait a few seconds there in order for the solder to actually start. So it starts exactly at 6 a.m. because I got here so fast. So the next thing we're going to do is build a, what's it called? Repair and salvage station. So I've gotten the anvil that I need for that. I decided to try something a little bit different and grab the coffee now, even though my route normally grabs it a little bit later. I think this is a good idea because it lets me salvage it rather than drink it, which causes bathroom problems. But it's not like officially part of my route yet. So we got those things. Now we're going to make the repair station. And once we pop down the repair station, we can use it to repair the wrench, salvage the fire extinguisher, and salvage the coffee to get the coffee mug.
Warning. The safety rating of this sector is now -4. Please exit this sector via
Okay.
main surface tunnel.
So then I need to craft 5 reinforced hose, and this is why we needed the 5 steel cable from before. And we've got enough metal scrap that we can just craft the screws needed for that. And then just to save some inventory space, I drop the hose that I'm carrying because I don't need that at this point. I disconnect the battery so that we don't drain it while doing a few other things. So now we're going to trade for 2 lenses and 1 diode. We need 1 lens to fix one of the pumps, but we need 1 lens later for the projection matrix. So now with the solder still cooking, we're essentially just waiting for that, and so we've got a little bit of spare time. So we can go back and get some food just to make sure that's not an issue. But we also need we need to kill 1 more bot. And so the bot is behind this door, or at least that's the easiest way. But we have to kill the monk. So once again, we hit him with a slushy bomb, hit him 4 times. I missed with that 4th, but that's okay. Back up before throwing the second bomb. Aggro the bot. And this CPU is going to be used to make the grinder. So this is the 5th normal security bot that we kill in this run and the last one. So as long as we get this guy lined up nicely, then this is pretty easy. And in this room, there is also 1 radio and 1 stapler, both of which we need. And I'm just crafting a few extra things, given that the bot is in a safe spot. So, the bot is dead. Again, pick up the Choppinator after it. Chops up the bot. Pick up the stapler and the military electronics. So this gets us to 2 millilec, which is the last we'll need for the run. We're also going to grab 1 soil. We also need to make sure we have 7 rebar because I want to build 70 grinder discs. So we dropped the coils. We don't need those anymore, just freeing up inventory. Now we're going to build the grinder, which first requires a computation brick and then a compressor. And then we can build the grinder itself. And its ammo. And 70 is just kind of arbitrary. I'm not going to use all of these, but it's a good number to have. And then finally we're going to build a mugnade. That's why we got the soil. But I think I'm missing the pressure gauge. I didn't pick this up. We need one more pressure gauge. But it's not a time loss to have not picked that up because we're still waiting for the solder. So now I've got 3 mugnades. They'll be used for 3 specific enemies. I'm dropping extra stuff I don't need. I don't need the chains. I don't need the tech. I don't need the metal. Now we're going to turn the forklift around so that once the solder is done, it's pointed in the proper direction to quickly get us to the other end. Then we're going to grab the bench and the battery, because we'll need that when we get to the adjustment wing. Want to make sure to put the bench in the hotbar to minimize its weight effect. I can now go ahead and eat these things I picked up a moment ago, because again, we're still just waiting for the solder to finish. And there's nothing left to do except wait for the solder, and since the solder started at exactly 6 a.m., it'll be finished just before 9 a.m. So we just once again have some downtime. I use that to reload the grinder, since we'll certainly need that later. And otherwise just get ready to move the solder when it's done. So with the solder done, we can now trade that for the fiber optic cable.
Yeah, you good.
That's the last thing we need to fix the pumps. So once again, back into the forklift to quickly get us up to the corner here. We'll need to get out and fix this pump. Typically that rat doesn't cause a problem. And so once again, forklift to the next one. And as I get into the forklift, I'm holding W right away, but the game doesn't immediately respond because it's loading. It's near a level transition. So that pause is due to the game, not me. So we drive down here to our second pump. Fix that. Back in the forklift to get our last section. And again, the primary reason for using the forklift here is both because it's reasonably fast, but even more importantly that it's conserving stamina. Because now, once we reach the point where we have to get out of the forklift, stamina is full, so we can run for quite a distance. Now here, on most of my runs, I'm in the yellow weight encumbrance class. Part of the reason I'm not yellow here is because I found the military pack rather than the radio pack. The military pack, again, has a 20% weight reduction, whereas the radio pack is only 12%. But even with the military pack, I don't always... Sometimes I'm still in the yellow, and I've spent a little bit of time trying to understand what the difference is, but not really figure it out. So something about this run allowed me to not be in the yellow as I'm coming through this section, which is great because there's still a long way to run. Like this isn't even the halfway point. So we press the button to apparently make a black hole. Sure. And that opens up to the what is this called? Animal pens or something? And so now we have like a really long hallway just that we have to run down. On one of my runs, I tried getting the little chairs that have wheels on them to see if scooting along in the chair might be faster and at very least conserve stamina, but it was slower and the chair was awkward to drive, so I just go on foot here.
Janet, you always say my science is out of control. This project is different.
Are you sure about this, Abe?
Of course I'm sure, Janet.
Do you remember the pocket
All right, so
dimension?
upcoming
I remember the pocket
is
dimension.
kind of the dumbest thing in this run, which is that over and over I have forgotten that after you press this button, you can just go out the window. So what I should be doing after dealing with Layak, who for some reason is right here, normally he's not right here, I should go through that window, but I forgot. So I'm doing the dumb thing and running all the way back around rather than just going through the window. Now, since Layak was there for some reason, he's never been there before. Usually he's like down here or something. I actually would have lost some time anyway, but there's like a 20-second time loss that I would have been able to save if I just gone through the window properly. In any case, we're still not done with this long running section because we have to talk to Janet. Janet is kind of the end of the running section. So here I'm going to drop my bench. I'm doing that mainly just to save inventory weight, because like I say, normally when I come through here, I'm in the yellow encumbrance, and so dropping that puts me back in the blue. Since I'm in blue now, I don't know if it's strictly necessary, but I do it anyway. So, talking to Janet there ends that segment, and the reason we talk to her is to get the level 3 keycard schematic. You can also get it from Thule, but that's a different, slower route, I think. And so now we're going to pick up these 2 liquid crystal from these monitors. It is possible to get liquid crystal elsewhere, including doing conversions in the adjustment wing. I think getting them here is fastest, especially because I want to kill the bot in order to get the jailbroken CPU, which is needed for the level 3 keycard. So we've got our crystal, now we're heading towards this bot. And as usual, I'm going to set up the Chopinator to kill it, but what I'm also going to do is I'm going to shoot it 6 times with the grinder. Now, I don't know why this works, and it's not completely reliable, but if you shoot this guy 6 times, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then you just kind of, hide here, he'll just get hit over and over with the Chopinator. Like, he's not punching it. And I think what he's doing here is trying to pick me up and put me in the little jail cell, which I've seen him do to the enemy grunts pretty often. So I think because he's decided he wants to physically pick me up, he's not punching. And that makes it so I don't have to monitor the Chopinator's health, because he will kill a Chopinator if you let him, unlike the other bots. So that lets me keep an eye on that Electro Pest and kill it when it starts to approach, which I already did. So, with that, the Chopinator's dead, and again, the reason why he behaved the way he did is because I shot him a few times. I got a bit unlucky in that the CPU was below all this soda, so I had to pick up the soda just to get to the CPU and then drop it again, which is really annoying. Okay, so we're done with the bot. Now we just have to head back to this so-called tram, this vertical tram, and get into the adjustment wing. And we'll pick up our bench along the way. And as soon as we get up here, we're going to deploy it. As we do so, there's a pest that's going to attack. So we'll put this down and then deal with the pest. Go ahead and materialize our bench. Then once the bench is built, we're also going to put down the battery. And this again just makes sure that we don't have issues with nightfall. And so now the home stretch, we need to kill a few enemies in order to get the 3 antiverse gems. So this guy we kill with the slushy and the grinder. Make sure he dies. Now we're going to use the Mugnade, kind of throwing from the doorway, making sure that guy goes. Then we can run past most of these soldiers, but there are 2 soldiers that we'll need to take out so they don't bother us too much. Like, these guys will aggro, but they won't follow far enough. But this guy is an issue, so we take him out. And then as we turn the corner, and one more corner, we'll get to the shotgunner, who's basically the boss of this area. Take him out as well. So now we just need to loot a total of 3 antiverse gems. Each of these things will yield either 1 or 2, and I'm not sure exactly what the probabilities are, but we get 2 from one of them. That's enough to guarantee that we'll get 3. If both of these dropped 1, We can go up the staircase behind me to get one more, but that costs about 20 more seconds. So we get good drops there. We've got our 3 antiverse gems that we need. We can now jump over the railing to get down. I didn't quite do this right, kind of sailing here a bit wide, but otherwise reasonably clean. And we just have to... I don't think there's an electropest here. Yeah, we can just run past him. So that then finally brings us back to the bench with our antiverse gems, which is the only thing we went in there for. So we hook up the bench, take the key out of the inventory so that it's available as an ingredient, build a projection matrix. This is where the staplers get used and the extra lens. Build this memory brick, which I clicked the wrong ingredient on. 2 quantum glass. And finally our keycard. And once I place it there, I consider that the end of the run. And so just reviewing what the in-game timer says, it says 50 minutes. Live split says 50 minutes and 30 some seconds, I think. And that's the end of the run.